Hello and welcome to Vintage Super League Semi-Final Week. I'm here with Chris Pakula. Got all kinds of fun stuff queued up for you guys. We got the match between Efro and Luis Scott Vargas. Got a couple of announcements, and we got Chris to hang out with us for the beginning of things. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying to get into vintage mode here. It's very hard. I've been thinking about preparation for the Grand Prix all week.
You're just all legacy all the time?
Yeah, this week at least.
Yeah, no, that should be a hell of a Grand Prix, actually. I've been watching the numbers come out on Twitter. It sounds like it's already bigger than all but like 4 or 5 Grand Prix in the history of the game.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, probably, I don't know, it seems like it's going to settle in, what, 3,000 and something? Probably third?
I think they might get over 4,000.
Wow, really?
I think part of the issue is I think that Star City runs a good event.
Yeah.
And people just want to hang out at the event.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people have basically been convinced that just getting like the play mat and all that stuff is just worth the entry fee.
Sure.
But I seriously think they might get 500 people enter with like standard decks.
Just to get the swag and then hang out for the event?
Yeah, and play the side events and so forth. I don't know.
Makes sense.
So,
all right, so in terms of our schedule of events, we're going to start out with the match between Eric and Luis. Those guys, I don't know if we can put the bracket up just to kind of remind you guys where we are in terms of the tournament itself. These guys are playing best 2 out of 3 matches. So they've got their decks. All 4 of our playoff competitors submitted their deck at the beginning of the playoffs. We know that this matchup is actually a mirror match. Luis and Eric have, I guess it's a bug bond deck, for lack of a better word. It's a fast bond gush engine. The main deck kills either with Tinker for Colossus or, more realistically, it kills with a Tendrils of Agony after you do enough sort of fast bond gush shenanigans. But then they have the ability to sideboard into an Oath of Druids deck, which is really good against the Delver that they were expecting. And whichever one of them does manage to win this gets to play against the Delver deck in the finals, because that's where Steve Menendian is sitting and waiting for them.
yeah, I mean, the other way they could win is it is possible that they kind of both try to do something and deplete each other's resources, that they could just jace their way to victory. But
Sure. Yeah, should be super interesting to watch how these guys handle this. It is a mirror, which is always kind of can be skill testing. This seems like there's some mirrors that I think are kind of, they play out weird, almost dumb or perverse, just what happens to the matchup. This seems like one that's going to be skill testing, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's definitely I mean, sure, it's vintage where there's games where it might not happen, but I think seeing these two guys play this mirror, I'm especially really interested because there's basically no doubt in my mind that Eric is one of the best Magic players in the world. I mean, his results just are amazing, and
I agree with you.
He's a smart guy, but in these matches, he's consistently made choices that I would not make. And then I noticed that last week, he made a number of choices that I disagreed with, and then Luis also disagreed with.
Interesting.
And it's been really interesting to me to see if they have a different approach to the mirror, just based on the fact that Efro's kind of displayed clearly that he takes a lot of lines that other people wouldn't take.
Yeah, part of, I think, what was going on last week, too, is that he didn't know David's deck list. I mean, Williams had kind of a brew, and, I mean, I was talking to Eric afterwards, and some of it was lines that he took that were based on sort of the deck list that he was constructing in his head of what he thought Williams must be on. So, I mean, there may have been some of that, but I also agree with you. I mean, Luis has been playing Vintage forever, and Eric is just, like, super smart Magic player who I feel like has gotten into the format a little more recently, and, yeah, we're going to be super interesting to see how these guys play it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to watch them. This is definitely a match where, we're here to watch the players for this one. I don't think these decks are anything new, and obviously it's a mirror.
They're kind of decks are a little new. Go ahead and go down to the match, by the way. We'll keep talking about it. We will be here for a while. These guys are best 2 out of 3 matches, so winning 2 out of 3 games, you're not done. You got to go back and do it again. And we'll watch these guys start in game 1. I will say, I actually really like the way they put this deck list together. I mean, we've certainly seen Fastbond Gush decks for a while, but the sideboard Oath technology and the dig through times as sort of, it feels like a very updated for cons version of the list to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you saw what Oath did to the Delver decks at Vintage Champs, and I think that made it really, really clear that the Oath sideboard was, And I think that everyone came into this expecting Menendian to play Delver.
Yeah, and he did.
And this was essentially a 4-person tournament, so.
There you go. Well, to get to Menendian, they got to get through each other first.
Right.
Eric up to number 8 in the world at this point in the top 25 rankings based on a recent Grand Prix finish. Luis, Hall of Famer, one of the best in the history of the game for sure. So Luis cashed in his draw, and now he's got 1 land and the Blight Steel.
That's not good.
No, that seems worse than the 7-card hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they don't play Thirst for Knowledge, right?
I mean, there's a Brainstorm in there, but wow, he kept that one.
Wow. I guess he's got Merchant Scroll, so he figures he can always Merchant Scroll for Ancestral, and he has the Misstep to defend it. Something like that.
Thoughtseize off the top is not bad either. Though it's basically gonna bait a Misstep.
Abrupt Decay is pretty bad in this matchup, right?
Abrupt Decay seems terrible. Does it? It kills like the jewelry. That's all it does is kill Moxes and a Lotus.
I think that might be correct.
Yeah, I think it only kills fast mana. I mean, obviously, it's relevant to kill Oath of Druids after sideboarding, I guess. I'm really curious to see what happens when these guys sideboard, because I just have no idea how you're supposed to approach this match after sideboarding.
I just don't think the Oaths come in. I don't think it makes any sense. Like, it just gives yourself a chance to draw cards that don't do anything. And I think that you're basically, to win with Oath in the mirror after boarding, it's going to involve, like, at best a 2-card combo and possibly more. And they could even, like, bring in 1 Orchard to defend again. It just seems like that to do the mirror, you have to have a real chain of events go where, like, you have the Orchard and the Oath, and they don't have a way to. It just seems really risky.
Yeah, all right. Well, what do you Vampiric for if you're Luis here?
Yeah, I think that
the Ancestral.
His position is so poor that he almost has to get the Ancestral.
And you know what? It's going to work. Eric is doing the thing that control players love to do: just sit there with untapped islands and pretend they've got it. I mean, you know what? Sometimes they don't have it.
Right. He knew that Eric had already used a Misstep, so.
Yeah. Wow. All of a sudden, Luis's hand is full of gas. Still only the 1 land, but, I mean, the Sapphire, the Lotus. He's going to play none of that. Wow. I guess he's setting up a... I mean, Storm Count is relevant, so there's no reason to drop the Sapphire down.
He saw the Abrupt Decay with the Thoughtseize, right?
Great point.
So... And he has Storm cards in his deck. But.
Exactly. Now, what does Eric get? Does he just do the same play, Vampiric for my Ancestral?
I guess he has to, yeah.
It's what he's doing. I don't know what his choices are. I mean, the odds of the second guy getting away with this play are not super high. And yeah, Luis is not going to hesitate. Force of Will, pitching. What did he pitch?
He pitched. Gush. I might have pitched Merchant Scroll with my Ancestral already gone.
Well, he doesn't have the 2 islands yet to play the alternate cast on Gush. I think that was why he downvalued it. I think.
He's got another Force of Will, so it's not...
Of course, he then promptly draws the Underground Sea so that he did have access to Gush. Now he's got access to hardcast Force of Will and effectively pitch the Black Lotus to cast the next Force.
Yeah, but I think his Lotus is just going to get Abrupt Decayed here.
No, he's not going to have time for that.
Yeah, I didn't think he would make that play if he wasn't planning on sacking it because... Does he have Thirst in his deck? Nope.
Dig Through Time. Wow, Dig Through Time looks spectacular here.
Yeah, it's funny when I said he should pitch the Merchant Scroll because he already used Ancestral. I basically had been operating in a world pre-count. I just forgot that Dig Through Time existed.
It's only been a couple of months. It's okay.
I would like to point out, though, that Thirst for Knowledge probably just... You could almost arguably be better here.
Shuffling in Blightsteel Colossus.
Blightsteel back into his deck.
This one is cheaper and gets you 2 of 7.
Yeah, it's probably better.
It's got to be better. I mean, it is cheaper, though. It does make your Yawgmoth's Will worse. I guess it's not strictly cheaper.
Yeah. And it seems like winning with Tinker would be easy from here, or the quickest way to get the game over before Eric has a chance to draw out of it. Mm-hmm. So getting the Blightsteel back in is worth something.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, it's going to take a while to win with Storm.
Do we have an angle on what he's looking at, or can we not see that? Storm, Jace, Mana Crypt, Misty, Jet, a Preordain, and a Thoughtseize.
So much.
Lots of options.
See, that's the problem with Dig is that you can only take 2. I will say I'm really hoping that they
Jace. That's easy.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So
he takes the Mana Crypt so that he can play Jace right now.
Right. That was because he didn't have enough mana to do it, and he couldn't take. If he took a blue card to go with Force of Will, although I'm not sure he had another blue card in the 7.
It was a pre-order.
Oh yeah, he didn't have the mana to cast it, so he knows Eric's hand.
Yep. I like this line. Takes the Jace. Jace can get the the Brainstorm effect can let him put the Blightsteel back in his library too.
Yeah, but now he might just win with Jace.
Finds a Gush, and a Mox, and a Force. Yeah, keep Force, Gush. Ship the turn here, right?
Abrupt Decay is just a real stinker in this matchup.
He's like, Eric, would you like to blow up my Mana Crypt, please?
He's going to kill the Sapphire, I guess. He just has nothing else to do.
I mean, it doesn't do anything else in the matchup. I agree. I would kill the Sapphire. And that's what he does. Force the Will off the top for Eric. Presumably he'll play his Mox and have 5 mana. Gotta like Luis's position here.
Yeah, I mean, but he could definitely lose if he gets unlucky because it's going to take him a while. It could take him a while to win if he...
Well, he found a fetch land, so he can now shuffle the Jace away.
Yeah, now it's going to be tougher. Now
he shuffled the Blightsteel away, of course. Ships the turn back.
Now it's pretty much over, I'd say. He already got lucky on the Mana Crypt once and found the shuffle effect, so it seems hard to...
Right. Gonna hard cast Gush during Eric's end step. If you're Eric, do you hard cast Force of Will here?
I don't think so. No, I'm wrong.
Yeah. He's like, I get 2 cards with this Force. That's about the best I can hope to do. I think Luis is fine with this.
Oh yeah, no question.
Crypt says lost that flip. Does need to find a victory condition. Basically needs to find a Tinker is what he needs to find. He found Fast Bond, which he doesn't have enough time to truly take advantage of. Reshuffle, though.
Yeah, he's just seeing so many cards now.
Needs the Tinker. Ponder reveals anything exciting? Dogmoth's Will and a Dig Through Time.
Yeah, all right, so...
And he keeps the Preordain? Hilarious.
And he left Lotus in the yard, right? So.
Yeah, with the dig, he was able to leave a couple of cards. I guess he's set up for a Yawgmoth's Will next turn, perhaps?
Well, this was a classic whoever resolved their Ancestral.
Yeah, this is like vintage from 10 years ago. First guy to resolve an Ancestral wins.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Eric drew...
And a Crypt wins that flip, so...
Drew a blank card. And he was on the play.
Yeah, all right. Fine for Tinker. Get rid of the Mana Crypt, put my victory condition into play. I've got double Force of Will backup. That should do it. Yep, Luis just kept looking at cards until he could find the Tinker. If he'd lost all 3 Mana Crypt flips, he'd be at 1 right now. But he did not lose all 3 Mana Crypt flips. So he's got the ability to force a couple of times.
Fine.
Jeez, Eric draws another blank.
Yeah, it was ugly.
All right, game 1 goes to Luis Scott Vargas. And we did not like his 6-card hand.
No, but the thing is, it's just... these guys can't... Their opening hands are not very indicative of what's going to happen unless, there's just not much action they can do. Like, unless it's a real crazy, like, first turn Jace or first turn Tinker.
Sure.
Like, so
I see that the chat is super excited about the promised announcement. Watty did send me an email last week asking me if I could make an announcement for them during the Vintage Super League. We've got that slated for after the first match, not after the first game. So we'll see how this first match plays out, and then Chris and I will let you guys in. Funny
So
watch.
looking at the board, is there
Yeah,
five the exact same as well? Yes,
yeah, they have the same 75.
so I'm guessing that we're going to see. I don't think the oaths are in the Gristle. I don't think they're going to mess around with that. I don't really. Like I said, I think it's like basically putting yourself where you need some kind of crazy 3-card combo to win. I think that they're probably just gonna bring in Hercule's Recall, Flusterstorm, and Notion Thief. And
Okay.
take out.
Yeah, Notion Thief certainly seems like a good one. Yeah, we should just head down to the match as soon as they're ready. But yeah, Notion Thief seems good. More Permission seems good. I mean, I do feel like if your opponent leaves their deck vulnerable to Oath, there may be a window where you can turn a profit by sideboarding into it, but maybe not. I mean, if they take out all their Abrupt Decays, right, what do you do with one of these decks if your opponent resolves an Oath of Druids? You just lose. If they have Oath Orchard. Also, Grizzlebrand is better than Blightsteel.
They have to have Oath. They have to have Oath and Orchard.
Yes. Yeah, it's a 2-card combo, but it's a 2-card combo that costs 2 mana total and wins the game on the spot.
Right.
If you resolve it.
And you also have to think that, and there's a bit of a mind game to it, but you can't play it unless, you can't even try to sneak it in early without an Orchard because your opponent could have boarded in an Orchard. So here's the first turn Jace that I was talking about.
Yeah, Black Lotus, Jace the Mind Sculptor.
I like how his opening hand just had everything.
Wow, has he got the Emerald for the Fast Bond too?
Yeah, he's...
Jeez, I saw the Fast Bond, but I didn't notice the Emerald.
And this is like just a totally absurd opener here.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's got Yawgmoth's Will with Lotus in the yard. I mean, this is just...
It's not quite a first-turn kill. If he had a Gush in this draw, I think it would be a first-turn kill. It was one Gush away.
I don't think I've ever seen... Yeah, that would have been amazing. Jace into a first-turn kill would have been...
Right. So. It would have been pretty ridiculous. But, I mean, it was there, wasn't it? I mean, as it is, it's still... What? He just Vampirics for a Gush and then sees how far he gets?
Man, there's a lot of... I'm not really sure what you Vampiric for here.
I think it's a Gush. It makes mana. It's draw 2 and go to the graveyard, so I can draw 2 more after the Yawgmoth's Will. Like, Gush might actually be better than Ancestral here because of the +2 mana.
Well, and Mental Misstep.
Yeah, he got Gush. It also beats Mental Misstep.
Yeah, I just wonder if Gush is somehow like the easy way out, but it probably isn't. It's probably
what else is he going to do? He's going to get Gush instead of an Ancestral.
Right, I guess what I'm saying is I find myself sometimes when I play Vintage, I do the like easy play, like I just get the Ancestral or get the Gush, and then someone goes, you just could have won that turn if you just weren't so concerned with drawing cards. But
you don't think Eric's going to win this turn?
He might.
I think Eric's going to win this turn. I think Eric is absolutely going to win this turn.
Yeah, it seems hard starting it when you're at 20 or 16, so...
Yeah, he's got the Fast Bond, so he just replays his lands. He's got 2 mana floating. It's a blue and a black, for the record. He can shuffle the Jace cards away. Now he can do 2 different Preordains. He just needs to make sure he has mana to Yawgmoth's Will. What, he's got 4 mana right now?
Yeah,
he's got 6 mana with the floating.
I mean, this is disgusting.
Preordain finds a couple of Moxes. Yeah, I think he's actually already got it. Because he can Vampiric out of the graveyard for the Tendrils of Agony and then gush it into his hand. With Black Lotus in the graveyard, it's done.
I think that is correct, because obviously, if Luis had anything, he would have already done it.
Yeah, I mean, Yawgmoth's Will is always the final test, but yes. Yeah. Another Sol Ring. Sure, he's got all the mana he could possibly want. He's got all the Storm Count he could possibly need. He just needs to resolve Yawgmoth's Will, and this will be the last test to confirm that Luis has nothing, which Eric is already sort of 98% plus on. Yawgmoth's Will resolve, so whatever.
Well, that was
all back out of the graveyard. All he needs to do is Vampiric for Tendrils and then gush it into his hand. That's ballgame.
This is extremely vintagey. Has he even used the Jace yet?
Yeah, he did at the beginning of the turn.
Okay. Yeah, it's just gross.
He did not. Okay, he didn't take it. He could Vampiric Preordain. He just wants to draw more cards. He wants to find tendrils the hard way. He wants to build up more storm count. What are we playing for at this point?
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about earlier.
Finish him off.
Sometimes the best play is not just drawing cards, but this time it probably. Yeah.
He has F6, and this Preordain will get the card that Eric just put on top. Oh, look at that! It's a Tendrils of Agony.
Oh, maybe he has mind. Maybe he has Mind Break Trap.
I think they know each other's deck lists. No Mind Break Traps. Plenty of Storm. All right. How about we go to game 3?
Yeah, that was.
First turn Jace to set up a second turn kill.
Yeah, if he hadn't found the fast bond with the first brainstorm, obviously that game could have gone a while, but
right. First turn Jace was probably going to win that game.
Well, what's funny is that Luis was 1 mana short of first turn Jace.
Sure. Wow, we did see an Abrupt Decay still in the list. Did you notice that?
Well, I was looking at the list, and it really comes down to the fact that they don't have a lot. Like they only have three. They only have 3 things to bring in, and one of those things is bringing in a second Turkle's Recall.
I'm not bringing a second Hercules in this matchup.
I mean, it's a blue card. I mean, but yeah, I feel like maybe it's just an insurance Abrupt Decay because you don't have anything else great.
Yeah, having 1 makes sense to me. If your opponent does manage to resolve an Oath, having 1 in your deck to tutor for, that's certainly like a lot of the times when I've been playing the combo decks. Like I don't know if my opponent what hosey thing my opponent has. You just bring in 1. You don't know what they're going to bring in, but you have like 1 Nature's Claim or 1 Abrupt Decay for whatever it is. At least you have 1 in your deck, and you have so much card drawing and tutoring in Vintage that having 1 in your deck is actually a pretty nice insurance policy.
Well, I just realized how certain the reason these guys are able to play this sideboard is because they basically assume no one was playing Dredge, or they think they can beat Dredge because they're not. I don't think they're fast enough to beat Dredge.
Oh, do they just have no anti-Dredge cards?
Yeah, they have nothing.
Hilarious. Who was going to play Dredge out of those 4?
Yeah, it's a 4-man tourney, and Menendian and Williams might be the 2 people in the league least likely to play Dredge.
Yeah, and they're working with each other, so done.
Right.
All right. Game 3. Who's going to hang the first W on the board? Somebody's going to have to win 2 straight matches after this. Somebody's going to have a little bit of wiggle room. Certainly edge to Luis that he's on the play. Having Black Lotus in his hand is also nice. Ooh,
they both have Black Lotus again?
They both have Black Lotus again. Only one of them has Notion Thief, though. Although Dig Through Time actually beats Notion Thief, or at least gets around it. Notion Thief still seems absurdly powerful. It beats Gush, it beats Preordain, it beats everything.
Yeah, I think you just have to go for the first turn Notion Thief.
You got Force of Will back up, right?
This is absurd. Black Lotus, man.
Vintage!
Oh, I forgot it has Flash.
Yeah, you do it end step.
You do it in response to Preordain.
Yes, of course. Of course. Preordain. No, wait. Sack this for black. Whack.
Wow, what a beating.
Eric is going to force. He has to remove.
See, when I said these games would be interesting, like I did not